Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I don't know how you got here, but I do hope that you'll stay until the end of this video because in this particular video, we're going to talk about what a SWOT analysis is in regards, of course, to architecture because I think that's what my channel is all about. But anyway, let's go ahead and run it down first. What exactly is a SWOT analysis? Well, we use a SWOT analysis to determine several factors on a particular site for a project. And in this particular project, we have, oops, for some reason I left it on green. Let's change the color first. Um, there we go. So what is it exactly? Now my handwriting is going to be a bit bad, so please excuse it. We have S for strength. Okay. We have W for weaknesses or weakness. Yeah, weaknesses. So that means that this should happen as also. Strengths, weaknesses. O is for opportunities. That's right. Okay. Opportunities. And T stands for threats. Right. Okay, so excuse my handwriting. It's really difficult. I have bad hand-eye coordination. I'm sorry. Anyway, so when we have a site that we're going to work with, we have to determine these factors to provide the best design solutions for problems that may arise or take advantage of things that could benefit our site. Now let's start with the first thing that we should all understand. When we talk about these four items, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, we can see that kind of strengths and opportunities are kind of similar in meaning, and weaknesses and threats are also kind of similar in meaning. So let's differentiate them first. Let's just keep it simple, right? When we talk about strengths and weaknesses, we're talking about pros and cons within the site, okay? Within the site. And then let's go ahead and pick a different color here just to differentiate it even further. Let's go a bit to the yellow, let's say. And when we talk about opportunities and threats, we are talking about pros and cons. Yes, sorry about that circle. We're talking about pros and cons outside of the site, okay? These are factors that affect the site externally. Strengths and weaknesses affect the site internally. Opportunities and threats affect our site externally. Okay? So now, what's also interesting is depending on our client and depending on our project, some things that people would consider as strengths can be a weakness. Some things that people would consider as weakness can be a strength, and they can also work the same way with opportunities and threats. The factors can become interchangeable, and it all depends on the research that we gather as architects for our particular site, client, project. So let's go ahead and erase this first. One moment. So we're going to go ahead and make a few examples of this. And to make it very clear why it's important that we always do our research as architects, I'm going to give scenarios to better understand what can be determined as a strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat. Okay, so we're just going to keep it really simple, guys. Very, 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 very simple. And then here, there. Okay, so let's start off by drawing a lot. Let's make it an interesting lot. And I'm gonna make us, we're gonna go ahead and go with red here. Oh my gosh, red there. Okay, I'm sorry, black. We're going with black. Why did I say red? So let's go ahead and make a lot. Okay, let's make it a bit of an interesting lot. Okay, just like that. Let's have this right here. Let's go ahead and fix this up a bit right there. Let's go and determine this as the right road of way, RROW. Okay, and let's say that on this side, uh, Let's say on this side we have, I'm not quite sure. Let's say on this side we have a mall. Okay. Let's say on this side, let's break it up even more, huh? Okay. And back here, let's say surrounding it, we have residential areas that have another road back here, a branch road of some sort. So we'll just call it a road. And let's say that right here we have residential areas. Over here, residential areas. And here we have commercial areas. And here we have commercial areas. All right, so we have everything going on in our particular site. Okay, now we have to understand the client. Let's say that the client is a small family, just a small family, family of 4. You got mommy, daddy, brother, sister, right? Or mommy, daddy, and the kids that are brother and sister. So 1 daughter, 1 son. Okay, and let's say that, let's give it some reference, shall we? Let's say that we can fit 2 cars right here, right? Oops, sorry. Let's go ahead and make this a different color. 2 cars can fit right here, just for references. Okay, and 1 more car. So we can have one going in, one going out. All depends. Or it could be garage, it's up to you. Okay, now we have mommy, daddy, son, daughter. We have this lot for our reference. We have the cars here for the reference of the size. And let's say that they're very into nature, so they like to grow plants and whatnot. Um, let's say that they're very studious. They're not too much into uh, outdoorsy stuff. And what else? All right, I think that'll do fine. Okay, I think that's enough information to work with. So when we look at this site, we can say that it's actually big enough for a residential family. You know what I mean? Let's say right here, this is another lot for a residential area. Oops, oh no, accidentally dragged the ruler. There's another lot for a residential area. So let's say for a residential area, it's actually the biggest lot here, and it's the luckiest lot. Let's say we also had another one here, residential area, and we have another one here. Let's say someone bought this lot and rents it out for parking. I'm not quite sure how it works, but then we have commercial areas, very small shops, let's say, that are across the mall. Okay. Okay. So when we look at this lot, we can say that one of the strengths is it's a reasonable size for a lot. Very reasonable size. Okay, so that's a strength. Okay, another thing, let's say that the lot is fertile. You know, we can grow plants and vegetables very easily. So that's another strength within our lot. And let's say once more that, let's see, what else can we say about this lot? Well, we can just say that it has, it's a reasonable size for a family of 4, and fertile, so they can do like gardening stuff, and you know, they have easy connection. Uh, well, let's say that that's it. So now we have to look at the weaknesses. Okay, the weaknesses is, and let's say the third option, the third thing that we can say is it's kind of secluded. That's what I was thinking earlier. I couldn't think of the word. It's kind of secluded. So like I said earlier, they don't really like to go outside that much. They're more studious. They're not really into like outdoors activities. So it's secluded, it's decent size, and it's a fertile lot. So these are all good things, right? Now, what are the weaknesses of this lot? The weaknesses are to get into it. We only have this entryway right here, right? Okay. So one of the weaknesses we can say is, oops, oh man, come on, there we go. Small entryway. Okay, and that's pretty much it. Now, what if we turn the tables around and let's say that this family is more outgoing? You know, they really like to go outside, they like to do sporty stuff, they like to communicate with people. These things would be backwards then. Or actually, aside, um, they don't really the fertile part of the land would still be a strength. The reasonable size would still be a strength, but the part that it's so secluded from the rest of the world, that would be a weakness. So as you can see, there's like it all depends on the client, on the project, how you're going to approach it. And when you're defending it, you have to explain this properly. So you can't just say that like uh, so if the client is very outdoorsy and likes playing sports and likes meeting people and stuff like that, and you're going to say that one of the strengths is that is it's secluded, then obviously people are going to look at you like that's not, or the client's going to look at you and they're going to be like, that's not what we want. But if the client is more like introverted and they like their privacy, they like being indoors more, then they're going to be like, oh yeah, this is definitely the kind of site for us. Either way, though, you have to always figure out, always have to collect the correct data. Now, when we look at the entryway, we only have this small entry. Um, Now, it's a weakness because let's say that everybody else has walls, and let's say, hopefully that doesn't happen, but let's say they accidentally burn there's actually accidentally some sort of fire hazard that goes on. They only have one way to get out of this area. You know, it's very secluded because everything is built up around it. So that's why we can consider that as being a weakness. Another weakness is that, well, actually, that's the only weakness, isn't it? You don't have to worry about like trying to come up with as many weaknesses as you can. That's not the whole point of like finding a SWOT analysis. You're just kind of trying to determine the major things about the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So don't be too pressured in saying to yourself, like, I have to find at least 3 or 5 weaknesses. Unless, of course, you're doing your thesis project and the professor requires you to think about at least 3 or 5 threats or weaknesses. So that's actually a real life scenario. How do I know that? Because it happened to me. So I had to figure out like what kind of weaknesses can we find in this site. So let's just put that also in it. Let's just say there's potential fire hazard because it's so enclosed, right? We only have one entry. There's a potential fire hazard. And third of all, let's say that, so everything has to be within the site if it's a weakness. Third of all, let's say that uh, so now we have to kind of really dig deep into in order to find a situation. We can say that there's pest problems. If you do like site, if you so that's another thing. You can't really know everything about the site unless you visit the site. That's why I personally I don't like to do a project where I don't get to go to the site because I don't know what could happen. Let's say that way on this side we have some indigenous animals, or not. Let's say we have animals. I don't. I'm not sure what I'm trying to say there, but let's just say we have like a group cats that build up here, right? Or cats, maybe a different kind of pest. Rats. Let's say we have rats. Rats and cats, why not? So you have to prove this, of course. So how do you prove it? You go to the site, you take the pictures, you show like go. You have to do at least 3 site inspections, and then you have to figure it out. What, and it's best to like stay there for like at least 4 hours to see what's going on. You can't really get a whole scope of what's going on at the site in less than an hour. Like let's say you leave after an hour and then the next 30 minutes a gorilla shows up, then it's kind of like, well, that wasn't recorded in your research. But that would be quite interesting, wouldn't it be? A gorilla just pops out of nowhere. Anyway, that's how we determine the strengths and the weaknesses. Everything is inside the site and it's based on the client's preferences. Now, what are the opportunities and threats? Let's start with the opportunities. If they need to buy something, hey, they're right there next to them, next door neighbors. Um, let's go ahead and use a different shade of green. Let's go with darker here. Opportunities. If they need to buy groceries or things, they can just go right outside. Why? Because, bam, commercial areas all over the place. Another opportunity. Um, let's say it's next to the mall. Could be an opportunity, but they're introverts, right? So maybe the mall isn't such a good. Maybe it isn't as much as a opportunity as we think it is. They don't like to go outside, but we have commercial areas. Let's say that they have grocery stores outside, so they can buy groceries whenever they want. They don't have to go that far. They don't have to be like these people in the back, where they have to go all the way around here just to go and buy. They just step outside. Hey, there's the grocery. Let's buy what we need, right? Um, so that's one opportunity. Another opportunity, let's say if they need to go places, let's say that the dad works. Let's say that the dad works at the mall. So now we're really reaching, aren't we? So this is kind of like this is what I mean. Like you have to really understand, you have to have a full grasp of what this family does. But let's say that in this situation, dad works at the mall. He's like a manager of the manager of something there. Manager of the supermarket? I don't know. He's just a big shot at the mall. So he doesn't have to go that far. He just has to go outside and maybe there's a footbridge and there he's at work already. No problem. And let's, for the sake of it, let's come up with one more opportunity. Um, so we can't really see it here, but so we have we have what's another opportunity? It's really hard, isn't it, to figure these things out? But we're just gonna have to. This is why I don't like to pressure people to like come up with a bunch of strengths, opportunities, weaknesses, threats, because that's kind of it already. When you have two or just one or two. Um, but for the sake of it, let's just say that it's right along the road, right road of way. Okay. So whenever they need to go somewhere, they can just go right outside. Does that make sense? Not really. No, it doesn't. Look, I said I knew how to do these, but I didn't say I was good at them. Let's just undo that. You know what? Just come up with a third one. Figure it out. We'll come up with it along the way. Now let's look at the threats. To be honest, I think that the right road of way is more of a threat than it is an opportunity. That's why I don't really want to mark it as an opportunity. So let's look at it as a threat. Bam. So threats don't technically have to be any of these things don't technically have to be tangible. They can actually be like For example, the reason them living right there next to the main road, noise pollution is a major concern, and especially since they're an introverted family, maybe they get the brunt of noise pollution in where they are, especially when they're surrounded by commercial areas. So them being next to commercial areas does not technically make it, like sometimes a specific item can be both a threat and an opportunity. So them being next to these commercial areas, they might have to expect certain noise in the area, and that's okay. Okay, it's okay to list it as both. What matters is that you have the information to back it up. Now, how would you know if it's actually noisy there or not? Well, you'd actually have to go to the site. Then you'd figure it out that, oh, it's noisy. It's really noisy at night. Like, let's say somewhere right here, there's a resto bar and they play loud music at night. You know what I mean? And then obviously the noise would leak in here. Those kind of things. Okay? So you actually have to know the area quite well, which is something I didn't mention earlier. Another threat is, like you can't see it right here. Let's say that the kids have to go to school. Well, where is the school? How far away is it from their home? And then do they have to go all the way around back here? Like, do they have to go back here to go through the school to this branch road right here? We don't know. We can't say. I didn't give you all the information. But that just goes to show you that when you do a SWOT analysis, you actually have to understand your project. You actually have to understand your client, and you actually have to understand the location of the project. Okay. Now let's say that instead of making this a residential making this into a residential area, someone wants to make it into a commercial area. So once again, some of the items that we found to be like as a strength or weakness or opportunity or threat might be switched around. For example, when we said earlier that the land is fertile, well, that means that the foundation of the earth isn't that strong. And let's say they want to make a three-story building or a four-story building. That way they can take full advantage of how big the lot is. They're going to have trouble doing that because they have to add more support to their foundation, to their structure. Or and then automatically a strength would be that it's along the main road because now it has easy access. But now, or I'm sorry, one of the opportunities would be that it's along the main road. But now one of the weaknesses, once again, is the opening here of how to get inside, right? So try to stick to the basic idea that strengths and weaknesses are internal to the lot and opportunities and threats are external to the lot. And let's have like a little trick question. So let me go ahead and erase this first. Let's say that, you have your project. Let's make the eraser a bit bigger to get all of that. Oops. Come on. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So let's say that our lot is kind of an odder shape than that. Let's say that, oops, let's go ahead and make that black, sorry. So once again, I'm going to reiterate, whenever we work on a SWOT analysis, we don't just work with what we see, what we know, what our internal gut says about it. We still have to consult with the client about it, It can't always just be like, because like they have a saying that common sense is not always common sense, or it's not always common. So it can't always be just be like you see it like this way. You automatically assume that it's that way. You have to do the research. You have to talk to the client. Otherwise, instead of like seeing something as a threat, you saw it as an opportunity, and the client is just completely unhappy with what happened because to them, they have different opinion. They have a different feeling about it. So you can't just straight up ask them like you can't just straight up ask them either like what do you think about this concern? You have to actually do the research, you know. Don't depend on them. Um, and I'll probably talk about that in another video about how to determine what your client wants and doesn't want. But anyway, let's say that this is your lot, okay? And we have your major road right here. Now, let's say, would you consider it a weakness that your lot is an awkward shape? Because when you think about it as an architect, we're supposed to solve problems, right? Well, that's the thing. It's a problem, you know. So when you look at a problem, then when you see it as a problem, that means that it's a weakness. Now, of course, I'm not giving you the permission to be a smart ass, you know, just because let's say that you have a let's say that you have a lot that's perfectly fine in shape. Okay, perfectly normal shape and everything. You know, don't try to make up excuses like, oh, this lot is too perfect. No. You have to look at it based, you still have to look at based on your data. Let's say that this lot is supposed to be a residential home and uh, let's say that the client at first bought it because the square meters of this lot is bigger than the size of this lot. Okay, so they bought it because they thought it was going to be bigger, but then they found out that this is the shape. So then automatically that means that it's a problem, right? So that means it's a weakness. But of course, let's say that the client looked at this site and instead of looking at the size of the lot, looked at the shape and found that this lot was too open to the public and this lot was more suitable to their personality. And you found that out from the client, then obviously you would see that as a strength. Okay. I remember a situation like I was told, why did you consider why did you consider the shape of the lot as a strength or a weakness? Isn't it as architects we're supposed to solve problems? We're supposed to approach those problems with our expertise, something like that. Now, they didn't sound that pretentious. They were actually asking it in a very nice way, but I'm kind of villainizing it a bit. But they were actually quite nice about how they asked it. And um, this is just my opinion. I'm not sure how other professionals would feel on the matter. Uh, but if you ask me, this can be considered a strength or a weakness based on that scenario that I just shared. So during that time, I was working on my thesis, and it was a commercial building, and it was an awkward shape, which made it difficult to figure out what to do because the that portion that was awkward was um, too small to really do anything with. So I kind of had to make it this like storage area for everything. And um, it kind of messed up my whole concept, right? Because we also have to come up with a central theme for the project, right? And just because of that small spot, because my concept was kind of focused on linear perception, and when it kind of turns all of a sudden, you lose the linear perception idea. And the linear perception still had to do a lot with how I was designing everything and the vision for the supposed uh, client that I was working for. So as you can see, the way that I defended it was still based on a lot of data that I had collected, a lot of information. And that's another thing though, because like as I said, I had a concept. Now, we can't really prove that the client has the same concept. Right. So fortunately, that was a thesis where, but if you're going to do this, take this into the professional world and present it to a company. So usually you're going to present the concept before you present like this whole SWOT analysis and other information. You're going to kind of bring it up to the client. This is the vision I have for you guys. This is what I think will work for you guys. I hope you can see it as well as I can. And this is what we're going to achieve with this vision. Hire me and let's take this journey together, blah, 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 blah. I know it sounds very corny and cliche, but that's how it is, especially when you're passionate about it, if you're not, BSing or anything. That's how you present it. This is the vision we have, right? So when you present the SWOT analysis, that's when it comes up. So like if the client agreed with you, yes, like if I was talking to the actual client, like, yes, I agree with this linear idea. Then when I present the SWOT analysis with the problem of the lot, and they're going to be like, what is this? What is this here on the side? Then I can be like, when I present it on the, I could already bring it up. Well, as I mentioned in the SWOT analysis, we do have a problem here, which is a weakness, but we're doing the best we can to find a solution for it. So in essence, if it is a problem, then it is technically a weakness. But if it's something that can already give you a solution, then it is automatically a strength. Same thing with the opportunities and threats. If it is a problem that arises that you have to find a solution for, threat. If it is something that gives a solution to you, then it's an opportunity. So hopefully that final bit of information can make it a bit easier for you to figure out how to approach the SWOT analysis. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and end this video here. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I hope you guys learned something. I hope everything that I said makes sense. But until next time, always take care of yourselves. I hope we can always better ourselves. And bye bye.